Hey guys, welcome back to Murder We Spoke for a quick little bonus mini-sode where I have two quick points. Number one, full episode coming soon, but Marissa and I are just really bad at planning ahead. So as you're hearing this, I am somewhere in Iceland, the southern coast, obviously, So we couldn't get a full episode out today, but do not worry. Full episodes are coming. We have lots of bonus content planned. We're going to watch some Angela Lansbury movies. We're very excited. So we've got a lot planned. So we're only doing 70 episodes of Murder She Wrote. So keep sending in your recommendations. Keep doing all that. And more is coming very soon. But secondly, and far more importantly, if you remember last week, we were both surprised by the fact that the number one movie in America in September of 1985 was a little movie called Invasion USA. It was number one. Number two, if you don't recall, was Back to the Future. And number three was Teen Wolf. Movies that are loved and enjoyed today. There's one is a goddamn classic, and the other one, there's like a TV series. Like these franchises are like still with us today. But Invasion USA, no one has ever heard of this movie. And one quick thing, I don't know why. Like, it's such a thing. Let me give you just a little piece of trivia. The number one selling movie for MGM on home videos is Gone with the Wind. Number two, until very recently, number two, Invasion USA. You guys, you can't find this movie anywhere. I looked for it and I was like, I need to know what this movie is all about. It is on Hulu. It is nowhere else. Unless you go to a used VHS store, if that's still a thing. I don't know where you have to travel to find one, but you can find it there. It is literally only on Hulu. I feel like they were like, do you guys want this? And like, I feel like Netflix and Amazon Prime were like, yeah, no, we're good. And Hulu's like, yeah, why not? Yeah, sure, fine. Why not? So it's on Hulu. I watched it, and you guys, Invasion USA is a forgotten classic. I don't know how else to say it. It is written by and starring one Charles Chuck Norris. I assume his Christian name is Charles and not Chuck, so forgive me if I'm wrong. Let me set the scene for you. This movie starts out, we see a boat. Heavy spoilers, so if you have not seen this movie, and apparently everyone has and no one has. It's the weirdest thing in the world. No one knows what movie this is, but it's sold more copies than everything except Gone with the Wind, so I don't know what kind of nexus of the universe we're living in, where it's simultaneously the biggest movie, like the second biggest movie MGM has ever put out, but no one knows what it is. So turn it off, get Hulu. If you don't have Hulu, like, get a friend's password, take advantage of one of those 7-day free trials, whatever you have to do. It's an hour, 40 minutes long, quick, easy movie. Watch it and then come back, because I'm just going to spoil a quick few things. The opening of this movie is so bonkers. So bonkers. Okay. The opening shot, we are on a refugee boat coming from Cuba. We see an old man talking with his grandson, and the kid's like, Grandpa, are we going to be able to make it to America? What's going to happen when we get there? And it's like, no sooner than Grandpa's like, oh, I don't know if we're going to make it. Everybody's lying around starving and dying. And he's like, I don't know if we're going to make it. A U.S. Coast Guard ship pulls up, and there's like this real tense moment, like no one's saying anything. And then the captain of the ship is like, welcome to America, and like, celebration, like we're Americans, we help people. That's what we do. We welcome you in and we help you. That's what we're here for. And then the grandpa, again, the only people we met on this refugee boat, we saw plenty of starving women, children, and old people, but the only two we actually met were grandpa and grandson. They're helping grandpa onto the U.S. Coast Guard boat off the rickety old, refugee boat, and captain of the Coast Guard pulls out a gun, point blank, boom, shoots Grandpa in the head. So, you're taken aback. You really didn't see that coming, to be honest. So, So Gramps is dead, and then everybody else, all the rest of the Coast Guard people, open fire. It's a bloodbath, killing every single refugee, man, woman, and child. Again, guys, we're 2 minutes into this movie, wipes out the whole boat. The whole boat of refugees is dead. So you're like, okay, this is bad news. Who are these people? Are they really Coast Guard? I can't believe that they are. And then so they pull out from the Coast Guard boat, pull out this dude, drag him onto the refugee boat. He's clearly a refugee himself. And they're like, hey, show us where it is. And he opens up like this latch on the floor of the refugee boat, and just bricks upon bricks of cocaine. Just a house of cocaine, with all the bricks of cocaine in here. So I don't, whose side am I on? You open this movie, I don't know whose side am I on. There's men, women, and children that are refugees, but they're also cocaine smugglers. And then there's the U.S. Coast Guard, but did they just kill drug dealers or refugees? I don't know what's happening. So we go from that scene, zero resolution. This cocaine storyline, by the way, goes nowhere. Goes absolutely nowhere. We then cut to opening credits of Chuck Norris, our man, our hero, Chuck Norris, on a swamp boat. Sleeveless jean shirt, open, flapping in the breeze, as is his gorgeous, glorious feathered hair. The rest of his face, motionless, as it is for the whole movie. It's Chuck Norris. This is not a surprise. He's not our most gifted actor. He has one facial expression, and that is it. He's, again, the opening credits, they're just playing the opening credits over him on a goddamn swamp boat, just driving through the goddamn Everglades, and it's so great. Can you hear me smiling? I just, even thinking about it now, I'm like, this movie is amazing. So he's on a swamp boat. Again, just while the opening credits go, we're just watching him on a swamp boat. This movie has also got like a little, in the beginning, where there's like a little Disney element to it. You know how like Moana has that little chicken that follows around, that dumb little chicken? Aladdin has, was it Abu? Has Abu, the little monkey. They have their little sidekicks. In the first like third of this movie, Chuck Norris has a little armadillo friend that's just hanging out. Like, we get to watch, he like knocks over his food dish, and Chuck Norris is like, oh, armadillo, you little silly. Again, it's the tone all over the place. But guys, so our bad guy, the head of the Coast Guard boat, we'll get back to Chuck Norris, don't worry. The head of the Coast Guard boat, a very familiar face to Murder, She Wrote fans. Of course there's Murder, She Wrote crossover in this. How could there not be? The actor is Richard Lynch, and he's been on 2 episodes of Murder, She Wrote. One, we've covered on this very podcast. He played Michael O'Connor in the episode entitled, again, probably the most appropriately and brilliantly named Murder, She Wrote title that we've ever come across, called To the Last Will I Grapple with Thee. He was the guy, if you remember, who committed suicide but made it look like murder to fuck over his mortal enemy. He kind of looks like a burn victim. He's got like the most interesting, unforgettable face on earth. He's done like 161 things. In IMDb, he's got 161 things. So I have now seen 2 of them, 159 to go, because I'm obsessed. But he plays, weirdly enough, you guys, he plays almost the same role. First of all, his name on Murder, She Wrote is Michael. His name in this is Mikhail. His ultimate downfall is his obsession. He is obsessed with killing Chuck Norris, to the point where he has 2 opportunities over the span of this hour and 40-minute movie to ignore Chuck Norris and complete his plot and his plan, but he cannot and will not. He has to kill Chuck Norris. So, first of all, Chuck Norris is like just like hanging, like, guys, I don't even know where to go. I'm sorry, I'm so manic. I literally finished this movie minutes ago, and I had to hop on here, and I'm like, I've got to share my feelings. I've got to share my thoughts, because this movie is bonkers. Chuck Norris is, guys, before we get to him just with a chainsaw, we just get to see him chainsawing some wood. That's a full scene in this movie, is him chainsawing the wood, hanging out with his armadillo pal. chainsawing some logs. That's a whole scene in this movie. But before we get there, we see him literally wrestling alligators. He's in the mud with his buddy, who there's a Saved by the Bell connection. He played Chief Henry on an episode of Saved by the Bell. You remember when Zach like made friends with an old Native American dude and then he died and like saw his ghost? It was a real weird episode. But that guy is Chuck Norris's buddy, and he likewise gets killed, and that's what leads Chuck Norris onto all this, because his Native American friend John Eagle got killed. So the two of them just wrestling alligators in the mud, and like not stunt double. You guys, you would think like, oh no, this is him. Just he wrote into a script like, yeah, I'm just gonna wrestle some alligators because why not? Because why not? So, our buddy Mikhail is like, hey, I've got this plot. I'm going to take over America. That's my plan. America hasn't been invaded in 200 years. It's past due. But if we have any hope of accomplishing this plan, Matt Hunter. Guys, Chuck Norris's character name in this movie is Matt Hunter. Yeah, it's great. That's a great name. He says, hey, Matt Hunter, gotta get rid of him. If he's out there, this plan does not work. There's only one way this plan works, and if it's and it has to be that Matt Hunter is not there to stop us. So, P.S. by the way, a guy they keep calling it the agency. I have to assume it's the CIA, but they only ever call it the agency. I don't know why. Did they not? Was the CIA like, no, Chuck, you cannot use our name in this movie? I don't think they can. Anyway, a guy from the agency sneaks into Chuck Norris's house. Chuck Norris gets the drop on him. Don't worry, saw him coming. And he's like, we need you. We think Rostov is back. He's gonna kill everybody. We don't know what's gonna happen. He's like, you should have let me kill him when I had the chance. Get somebody else. He was out. He already stated, I don't want the job. I'm done. I'm out. But Rostov got so obsessed, again, just like his character from Murder, She Wrote, that he got himself in several swamp boats, headed on down to Florida. P.S. This is all in Florida. So he gets down there. And again, access to plenty of, like, he's got Coast Guard ships. Later on, they have cop cars and tanks. They have all this shit. But not like a short-range missile to just blow up Chuck Norris's house, which is literally in the middle of a swamp in the middle of the Florida Everglades. But they ride up there, blow up his house, kill his buddy John Eagle, R.I.P., never forget. And that's where, and then Chuck Norris, like, survives this, because of course, again, without a scratch, by the way, jumps out the window, he is fine. John Eagle warned him ahead of time, got himself shot in the process. We saw the armadillo walking downstairs before this all went down, so we assume he's okay, but that's the last we ever see him. After the house explodes, we don't know what happened to Lil Chuck. I assume the armadillo's name is Lil Chuck. We don't know the fate of this poor armadillo that Chuck Norris was hanging out with Moana style. So nothing but the best thoughts and prayers for Lil Chuck. So he goes to like a bar. Chuck Norris does. Our protagonist, Matt Hunter, goes to a bar and is like, and then the guy from the agency comes there and he's like, oh, I was looking for him. And he's like, I'll take the job. And it's like, he like went to a bar and waited for him. Like, I don't, there's a formality there. I don't understand. Anyway, while all this is going on, Rostov thinks he's killed Chuck Norris. He goes to like a coke den. Again, there's a cocaine element in the story that goes absolutely nowhere. I'm about to tell you the last part of it that is insane. So he goes, takes the cocaine to this coke den, gives it to the coke den superintendent. I don't know what they're called. And is like, hey, here's the coke. And the guy's like, cool. Pours some out on the table. And this is maybe the best part of the movie. Pours a mountain of cocaine out, like a little tiny mountain of cocaine onto the table. And you know how usually, like, you're testing the product. Obviously, you got to test the product. We've all seen enough movies. We know how this works. You got to cut it up in little lines, and you got to try, you got to do a line and be like, hey, this is some grade A product. Thank you, Ross, Mikhail. But the prostitute that is, again, there's prostitutes everywhere in this movie. The prostitute that is trying out the product for our cocaine den super just sticks a straw right down the peak of this mountain of cocaine and sniffs away. She does eventually break it into lines, but the first sniff is just right down the center. And I'm like, she's ahead of her time. She's a genius ahead of her time. Just like, of course, just right into a mountain of cocaine. I loved it. And as she's going in for more, this is when Rostov bangs her head against the table and like kills her and the cocaine like superintendent. And that is the end of the cocaine story. I don't know what happened. It is wholly unclear what happens to this thing. Let's see what else. You guys, I am not 20 minutes into this movie, and I like, it's so great. Chuck Norris has a truck that is, guys, I don't even know where to go. They go into a residential neighborhood. I looked this up. They go into a residential neighborhood because the plan is they're going to invade Miami-Dade is basically what they do. They invade Miami. They like literally like Normandy, pull these boats up, and a whole bunch of dudes get off and run into the beach and then get in trucks and take off and like cause terror around Miami. Like they leave the boats there, and then the local cops show up and like, what are these boats doing here? Like, I don't know. Lots of people got off them. Cool. This is weird. So again, leaving evidence everywhere. It's so bizarre. So the plan is like they're just going to cause chaos and turn Americans against one another, but only in Miami, and this will help them take over America. Unclear what the plot of this movie is, but he goes. Our villain, Rostov, goes to the middle of a residential neighborhood. We get to see this picturesque scene of it's again. Oh, hey guys, we get 40 minutes in this movie. Twist, it's Christmas time. Who knew? Again, it takes place in Florida, so we didn't literally 40 minutes in. It's like smash cut to a residential neighborhood in Florida. People, Christmas lights up. Christmas music is now playing. People are out in their front yards decorating Christmas trees. Is that what they do in Florida? Everybody was out in the front yard decorating Christmas trees. Is this a thing? I don't know. And so we see little Bobby and Sally. I want to put the star on. No, it's my turn. I'm older. And it's like all that. And it's like, and then Mom leans out. Oh, everybody, time for dinner. And Dad's like, let's go, kids. We'll finish this later. Like it's, fucking June and Ward Cleaver. So adorable. And then Rostov just pulls up in the truck in the middle of this thing and just gets a rocket launcher. Just boom, 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 house after house, just eradicating families. Like you do. Just so again, just child murder left and right in this movie. You get they really set you up. So they've killed a lot of people in this movie. The body count, according to IMDb, is 129 people. And that neighborhood that they blew up, an actual neighborhood in Atlanta that was set to be demolished. And they were just like, before you do that, can we just blow the shit out of it? And the city of Atlanta was like, yeah, sure. I see zero reason why not. So thank you, Atlanta. Let's see. Boy, I ramble a lot. This movie had just so much 80s realness and greatness. Like it was that thing in the 80s where everybody in movies was just sweaty all the time. Everybody in this movie, so sweaty. Chuck Norris never beat a sweat. He was always dry. Everybody else, sweat. Just like a sheen of it on them. And I feel like that was just like, I don't know why movies in the 80s, everybody had to be sweaty all the time, but that's how it was. There's car crashes. So many great, wonderful car crashes, like just 80s, like just these giant 70s, land boats crashing into one another. Chuck Norris had a truck in this movie that was basically like the Batmobile. I mean, there's no other way to put it, really. He drove it when we first, basically the terrorists, they kill a lot of people, and then for the first 45 minutes of the movie, and then for the last hour of the movie, Chuck Norris, like right before they show up to kill people, like right before they pull the trigger, he bursts onto the scene and kills them. It's fantastic. And usually he does it with their own weapons. Like he just grabs the gun they have in their hand, points it at their head, boom, they're dead. Takes their bomb, and they're like, "Why won't the bomb work?" He's like, "You looking for this?" Drops the bomb on their heads. It's phenomenal. But he has this truck that is, again, the terrorists killing civilians all over the place. They're going into malls. They're killing everybody, and they are mowing down people until they get to Chuck Norris, and he's driving a truck, and they become the worst shots. He drives through malls. He gets in car chases with bombs. He doesn't lose a single window. He has maybe 3 bullet holes. He loses a headlight, but otherwise this truck is unscathed. And once he drives it to the mall, he drives it through the mall, stops the terrorists, but they take a hostage and run off. And there's this journalist who is absolutely meaningless to the plot. I just feel like they were like, should we give him like someone he can flirt with for like 2 minutes? Okay, sure. But she's absolutely worthless. Chuck Norris wanted her to be played by Whoopi Goldberg. Fun fact. But I guess the director was like, I don't think so. So he takes her car to run after to get the hostage. But after all this, literally the National Guard has been called in and they're scoping this stuff out. They don't show it, but he somehow gets in there and gets his car back. Gets this magic truck back. It was bizarre. So anyway, you guys, I've barely scratched the surface. The end of this movie, Chuck Norris wins. Spoiler alert. He has, throughout the whole movie, you see thousands of bullets shot at him. He gets one little cut over his eye. Otherwise, he is fine, and he has killed 129 people. The end of this movie is in an office, like they're fighting in an office, and literally like then they're both lurking around with rocket launchers. Like, hey, who's going to shoot the guy with a rocket launcher first in this office building? Chuck Norris is first, shoots Rostov. He blows up. We get a shot of Chuck Norris. Fade. End of movie. It is like the most like 80s fade out. It was like the end of a TV episode. It did not end like a movie at all. Guys, I've barely scratched the surface. Get on Hulu, watch this movie, and then get on Twitter. So, I mean, obviously, once you finish the movie, you're gonna wanna thank me for telling you where to find it. That's cool. I expect it. Get on Twitter at Murder We Spoke. Instagram, Murder We Spoke. You can email us, murderwespoke@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Murder We Spoke. You can find us so many places. Get on there. Like, guys, this movie was fantastic. It has a Murder, She Wrote. Like, there is crossover between this and Murder, She Wrote. It's like, and it's great. I don't know. Like, this movie is like just a hidden masterpiece, and it's available for you streaming right now. So there you go. Guys, again, we will be back very soon, myself and Marissa. Keep sending recommendations, and we will see you for a full brand new episode of Murder We Spoke very, very soon. Bye.